analysis of the problems relating to the leadership skills and positive attitude among undergraduates. I just deviated a bit so that I'm focused on the undergraduates in Sri Lanka and our security concerns. Sir, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. In addressing my research topic, I consider it is necessary to give you a brief outline of the evolution of the education system. Present education system in Sri Lanka has evolved from the British system. However, we have a written history of 2,500 years where our education system was centered in monasteries and temples. We had a few major reforms in our system of education during pre- and post-independent periods. In 1940s up to 1950, it was Kannangara reforms. We had few major concepts in education system: free education from kindergarten to university, concept of head, heart and hands, head as academic excellence, heart as the emotions and feelings, and hands as vocational aspect of education. And also he introduced vernacular schools in Sri Lanka, and also finally he conceptualized the central colleges in Sri Lanka. Then the second major reform came in 1970s, early 70s, during Dr. Badruddin Mahmud period as a Minister of Education, where he introduced district basis for university entrance, standardization of GCE A-level marks, and to minimize, this concept was introduced to minimize disparities for the underprivileged. Since then, no major reforms except a few procedural changes and policy changes took place in the education system. The current system of education tend to generate issues which have direct link with the security concerns of the country. The main cause of this situation is the absence of opportunities for students to develop their leadership and positive attitudes within the system. Here I try to identify the resultant security concerns and make some recommendation as a short-term and long-term remedial measures. The Sri Lankan education system has become a race where the first hurdle starts at grade 5 scholarship examination. Then the second hurdle starts at GCE O-level examination. Third hurdle is one of the major hurdles, GCE A-level. Extremely competitive, and this has caused extreme competition for academic excellence. Majority forego vital component of extracurricular activities for academic excellence, and this has affected self-confidence, personal abilities, and leadership skills among youths. Let me have some interesting figures about these three exams. Firstly, the grade 5 scholarship. You find the students engaged in the race from the beginning itself, where percentage of students scoring over 70% of the total student population is about 50 to 60%. So that is fairly large competition where they score more than 70%. Then the next hurdle, which is GCE O-level candidates that qualify to proceed to advanced level examination, it's alarming. Ladies and gentlemen, I took 5 years, 2006 to 2007. Then number of students qualifying for advanced level is 50 to 60%. And that means we are dropping out 40 to 50% of students to step into the next formal education level. Then this is a bit of a complicated diagram where I have taken figures from 1993 to 2010. This is one of the major hurdles that we have, where if you look at the bar chart, you would realize that how the matter focuses on the total education system. You can see the blue color pillar is the number of candidates who sit for the exam, and the red one is no satisfying, the number of satisfying for the minimum requirement of admission. And you can see a small column on the left where it is the number that is being selected to the university system. So this diagram tells us that 9 to 10% only enters into the national university system, and balance 90% is dropped out, and they are looking out for various other avenues to pursue their higher education. This is one of the major concerns that one must have on the security lines. So my talk here is basically on the small column on the left hand side, where it is about 9 to 10%. We did a small study, not a small study, a big study incorporating 10,000 students. After they finished the development of leadership and positive attitude training, which was conducted in liaison with the Defense Ministry by the Education Ministry. Now, this shows that majority of students, about 80% of students, have praised this course, and they have told they benefited quite a lot from this 3-week course. But you find that about 2% of student population has indicated it is extremely poor, which gives a different connotation. It shows that this element either very radical or outliers. But I consider they are basically basically radical, and this has a major security concern. So what happens when they enter the university? They interact each other, and the outcome is this radical group dominates the entire setup, and the majority, those who think in moderately and those who think in more rational way, succumb to the pressures of this radical group. So let me go into the group dynamics, how it happens when they enter into the university. They have group interaction, then the group norms, leadership and motivation, and finally they mobilize. Few of the observations as shown on the screen. Right, this is an important aspect. Security concern. They are vulnerable to radical groups mobilizing the majority for certain political agendas. Creation of unrest and destabilization of the university system. Engagement in sabotage, subversion and revolutionary activities. Finally, insurgency, where we saw it 1971 and 88-89. This is at a larger scale. Few of the recommendations. The evolving a system to develop leadership skills and positive attitudes through primary, secondary and tertiary level. This is being spelled out even during keynote speakers' address. Then identification of radical elements at the early stages and engaging them in leadership and counseling programs. Continuation and expansion of the leadership program organized by the Education Ministry. Conducting routine leadership programs during university education. Conducting awareness program for parents of undergraduates by academic staff of universities. Informing the parents for progress of their children in the initial years of their university education, educating and raising awareness among the academics by experts on security concerns. Gentlemen, in conclusion, I wish to state that emphasis on this aspect is very significant, and addressing this issue at the highest level to make Sri Lanka the knowledge hub in Asia, which will be the way forward to make Sri Lanka the wonder of Asia. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.